The Élysée Palace had never seen anything like it. President Emmanuel Macron, known for his diplomatic composure, was visibly shaking as he stared at the young African leader on the video screen. What Ibrahim Traoré had just declared would not only shake France to its core, but potentially end decades of French influence in Africa forever. The words that came next would make history. It started 72 hours earlier with a red-sealed envelope marked classified that would trigger the most explosive Franco-African confrontation of the century. President Traoré was reviewing reports in Ouagadougou when his secretary Marie burst through the door, her face pale with shock. "Mr. President, this arrived by diplomatic courier from Paris, marked for presidential eyes only." Inside was a document that made Traoré's blood run cold. Operation Sahel Reset, France's secret plan to orchestrate his removal within 6 months and install a cooperative leader. The plan detailed which opposition figures would be supported, how media would be manipulated, and most shocking of all, France intended to seize Burkina Faso's gold reserves under fabricated international sanctions. "How did we get this?" Traoré asked, his voice dangerously quiet. "An anonymous source calling themselves Liberté," Marie replied. What they didn't know was that Liberté was Dr. Sophie Dubois, a senior advisor in Macron's inner circle, who had become disgusted with France's neo-colonial operations across Africa. Traoré studied the document, his hands trembling with controlled rage. This wasn't just about Burkina Faso. Similar operations were planned for Mali, Niger, and Chad. "Call President Macron's office," he said firmly. "Tell them I want an emergency video conference, today. Tell them it's about regional stabilization. He'll understand." 3 hours later, the call was arranged. Macron expected routine diplomatic business. Instead, he was about to walk into a catastrophe that would destroy his presidency's credibility forever. The Élysée Palace Situation Room buzzed with confidence. President Macron, impeccable in his navy suit, sat surrounded by France's top African affairs experts, Foreign Minister Catherine Colonna, Defense Minister Sébastien Lecornu, and senior advisors. "This is probably about economic aid," Macron told his team dismissively. "Traoré is young, ambitious. He can be managed like the others." How catastrophically wrong he was. The screen flickered to life, revealing Ibrahim Traoré in traditional Burkinabe clothing rather than Western attire, a detail that should have warned the French team this wouldn't be typical diplomacy. "President Macron," Traoré said, his voice courteous but edged with steel. "Thank you for accepting this urgent call." "Of course, President Traoré," Macron replied with practiced diplomatic charm. "I understand you wanted to discuss regional stabilization. France always supports our African partners." The irony of those words would become devastatingly apparent in exactly 30 seconds. Traoré nodded slowly, then lifted a document from his desk. Macron's confident expression crumbled as he recognized the red classification stamp. "Operation Sahel Reset," Traoré read aloud, his voice cutting through the sudden silence like a blade. "Phase 1, Burkina Faso stabilization. Objective: remove current leadership and install compliant government within 6 months." The color drained from Macron's face. His advisors exchanged panicked glances. This document wasn't supposed to exist outside the most secure French government circles. "Should I continue reading, President Macron? Perhaps the part about seizing our gold reserves? Or maybe where you've already chosen my replacement?" For decades, French presidents had controlled African leaders through economic pressure and covert operations. Never had they been confronted so directly with documented proof of their interference. Macron's diplomatic mask began cracking. "President Traoré, I don't know where you obtained that document, but are you denying its authenticity?" Traoré interrupted sharply. The question was a perfect trap. Denying it meant lying with evidence against him. Confirming it meant admitting to planning the overthrow of a democratically elected government. "That document was stolen from..." Macron started carefully. "So you confirm it's real?" Traoré's voice sliced through his words. And that's when Macron made his fatal mistake. His legendary composure finally shattered. "Listen to me carefully, young man. Macron snapped, pointing at the camera, his voice rising dangerously. You don't understand international relations complexity. France has responsibilities in this region that go back. Responsibilities? Traoré's laugh was cold steel. Is that what you call planning to overthrow my government? The French president's face flushed red. His horrified advisors watched their usually controlled leader lose it completely. You think you can just wave around stolen documents and embarrass France? Macron's voice grew louder, more strained. You have no idea what you're dealing with. But Traoré produced another document, even more damaging. Let me read something. Else. This memo from last month. The Traoré government's continued resistance to French interests makes immediate action necessary. Economic measures have failed. Political intervention is now required. Macron shot up from his chair, scraping it against the floor. How dare you? That's classified. This is espionage. No, Traoré said, remaining perfectly calm while Macron disintegrated. This is accountability. Then Traoré held up a third document that made Macron go completely pale. This one's my favorite. Your personal authorization for enhanced intervention measures in Burkina Faso. Signed by you 3 days. Ago. Deafening silence filled the Élysée palace. Macron stared at the screen, mouth agape, as the full scope hit him. Traoré didn't just have one leaked document, he had the entire operation. You want to know what's really interesting? Traoré continued conversationally, making the moment more devastating. These documents reveal similar operations planned for Mali, Niger, and Chad. France has been quite busy planning democratic transitions across the Sahel. That's when Macron completely exploded. Enough, he screamed, his face bright red. You, little. Do you have any idea what France has done for Africa? What we've sacrificed? The billions invested? His advisors frantically signaled him to calm down. But Macron was beyond reason. You think you can bite the hand that feeds you? Without France, Burkina Faso would be nothing. The racist undertones hung in the air like poison. Traoré leaned forward, eyes never leaving the camera. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of history. And there it is, the real France. Not diplomatic speeches about partnership, the France that still thinks it owns Africa. Macron immediately realized his catastrophic mistake. Those words, captured on video with witnesses, revealed exactly the neo-colonial mindset France spent millions denying. I didn't mean, Macron stammered. Oh, but you did, Traoré interrupted. And the world heard it. The French president looked wildly around his situation room, searching for escape. His carefully cultivated progressive, post-colonial image had just been obliterated by his own words. President Macron, Traoré said, listen carefully to what I'm about to say because this will be the last time we speak as equals. The chilling implication was clear. After this conversation, there would be no equal relationship. Effective. Immediately, Burkina Faso withdraws from all French-led Sahel initiatives. We're terminating our defense cooperation agreement. We're expelling all French military advisors. Macron's face went from red to deathly pale. You can't be serious. Without French protection, you'll be overrun by terrorists. We'll see, Traoré replied calmly. But we won't see France organizing any more coups in Burkina Faso. Then came the bombshell that would make global headlines. I'm announcing the formation of the Sahel Liberation Alliance. Mali, Niger, and Chad have agreed to join. We're sharing these documents with the UN, African Union, and International Criminal Court. The implications hit Macron like a freight train. France was losing its entire Sahel sphere of influence, plus facing international investigations. You're making the biggest mistake of your life, Macron said, voice hoarse with rage. France will not forget this betrayal. Betrayal? Traoré's eyebrows rose. You mean like planning to overthrow my government? Then Traoré delivered the killing blow. Oh, and President Macron? You might want to find liberté. Because I have a feeling you haven't seen the last of these documents. Panic shot through the French team. Someone in their inner circle was leaking and they had no idea who or what else might surface. Macron stood frozen, mouth open, his legendary eloquence completely abandoned. "This conversation is over," Traoré said. "Au revoir, President Macron." The screen went black, leaving Macron staring at his reflection in the blank monitor. Nobody in the Élysée palace spoke. Only Macron's heavy breathing broke the silence. "Sir?" Foreign Minister Colonna finally ventured. "Our options?" Macron turned slowly, his face a mask of rage and humiliation. "Options?" He just declared war on France with documents proving we planned his overthrow. "What options do you think we have?" Within an hour, footage of Macron's meltdown leaked to international media. The clip of him shouting, "Without France, Burkina Faso would be nothing," played across Africa, sparking outrage and protests at French embassies from Senegal to Kenya. The BBC headline read, "French President's Racist Outburst Caught on Camera." CNN declared, "Macron Meltdown Exposes Colonial Mindset." African media played the footage alongside historical colonial images. In Ouagadougou, Ibrahim Traoré addressed the world. "Today we witnessed neocolonialism's true face. When challenged with interference evidence, France didn't deny it, they defended it. When confronted with coup plans, they justified it." He looked directly into cameras. "But today also marked true Sahel independence. We will no longer accept sovereignty illusions while foreign powers secretly plan our futures." The Sahel Liberation Alliance became official within 48 hours. Mali, Niger, and Chad signed the charter, ending French influence across a region larger than the United States. Emergency meetings continued in Paris around the clock. Operation Sahel Reset leaks triggered multiple international investigations. French mining and security stocks plummeted. Then Dr. Sophie Dubois revealed herself as Liberté in a Geneva press conference, presenting thousands of additional documents proving decades of French-African interference. "I swore to serve France," she told international media, "but I cannot serve a France that betrays its values by overthrowing African democracies." 6 months later, consequences continued unfolding. French Sahel military bases closed, billions in mining contracts terminated. The CFA franc system faced challenges from multiple nations. Most significantly, young Africans watching Ibrahim Traoré stand up to France demanded similar actions from their leaders. Macron's meltdown video reached 100 million views worldwide, but Ibrahim Traoré's calm declaration became the symbol of a new Franco-African relations era. In Burkina Faso, Traoré addressed his nation. "They said we couldn't survive without France. Today, 6 months later, we're not just surviving. We're thriving." Behind him, a banner read in French and Moray, "True independence is not given, it is taken." French African dominance was over. It ended not with war, but with a young leader who dared speak what everyone knew but none said. Neocolonialism's emperor had no clothes. Macron's 5-minute loss of control would take France decades to recover from. Ibrahim Traoré's words were indeed making history, exactly as promised.